Is the West setting up President William Ruto for failure? Is the West, through IMF and World Bank, setting up William Ruto for failure? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers, sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to it. Let's get and examine how these mandamanos are used through the opposition to sabotage and eventually take out William Ruto from presidency. Let's get to it, okay? Number one, let's examine something. When this mandamano started, all the Western countries, most Western countries, US, UK, you name them, Denmark, whatever, they came out and spoke and say that the police should watch how they handle the protesters, okay? They warned and they say, actually basically telling the government that they should actually be very careful how they handle the protesters. It was as if they were anticipating violence against the protesters, okay? That's number one. The funny thing about this is there's one country in particular that did not actually give a similar condemnation of the government dealings with the protesters, okay? And this is Russia. Russia explicitly said that the West is interfering with what's going on in Kenya. I'll repeat again, the Russians, they say that the West are interfering in what's going on in Kenya. Take a look.
Has called on people across the country to take to the streets for 3 full days of anti-government demonstrations. Now, police units incorporating a tear gas to disperse those people right there. It is yet another chapter of unrest in that East African nation. Residents have long been speaking out in protest against inflation and unemployment, and previous clashes resulted in 15 people dying. We heard from locals on the streets right there who voiced their concerns about essentially what is the current state of affairs.
We know very well the cost of living is high, and the majority of us cannot cope with the situation. This life is becoming so difficult, and the finance bill, which was passed by the parliament, has automatically made our lives very hard.
The leader of the opposition should not bring in the issue of high cost of living. We know him, and most of the time, after he has been defeated during elections, he does not accept his defeat. We know all over the world the cost of living is high, not only just here in Kenya.
Our leaders should sit down and at the same time reason together. Protests are...
Now, yesterday, we saw on the news when there was reports that Kalonzo Musyoka was under house arrest. That's the claim. He was under house arrest. But what was confirmed by the news organization was that Kalonzo, along with Raila Odinga, at Kalonzo's house, were visited by 3 diplomats. Among them was the Megan, the ex-CEO of eBay, who ran for gubernatorial seat in California and failed because he had a worker who was an undocumented worker. But that's another point. But that's another story for another day. But yes, it was the U.S. envoy, 2 U.S. ambassador to Kenya, the UK, not the High Commissioner, but it was one of the guys from the UK embassy, and the Danish from Denmark. Went and visited Kalonzo Musyoka along with Raila Odinga at Kalonzo's house. What was discussed was not revealed, okay? They did not reveal what was discussed. But this was confirmed, the news agency, where they saw them go in and come out of Kalonzo's place. What does that tell you? What were they discussing, okay? That's another question that you have to answer yourself, okay? You should ask yourself, sorry, okay? What were they discussing at Kalonzo's place? Okay? Another question that you need to ask yourself. There's a lot of hashtag going on Twitter sphere among Kenyans where it says, Luo's lives matters. This is in reference to what happened in Nyalenda and other parts of Nyanza province where a lot of Luo youths were either brutalized, maimed, shot, and killed. Some of them jailed, okay? All right? Okay, fair enough. That's something that we should call for. Police brutality is something that we should not joke around with. Fair and square. But with this happening, okay, we know The strongholds of these protests are usually Nyanza province, especially Kisumu, Homa Bay, and Kibera and some parts of Nairobi, the Luo stronghold. Now, think about this. If you are Raila, somebody who is the proverbial king of Nyanza province, okay, who a lot of youth from Nyanza follow, heed when he speaks, they listen to him, okay, will it not be prudent for him to come out and say, hey, listen, let's hold on with this mandamano because my people are being targeted, are being shot, are being killed, are being jailed. Don't you think that's something that Raila should come out and speak? At least put this mandamano to a halt. Because it seems that the only ethnic group that's being killed are the Luos. Will it not be prudent for Raila to come out and say, hey, let's hold on, let's hold this mandamano for a minute because my people, our young children, our Luo kids are being killed. But no, what does Raila do? He calls for another mandamano next Wednesday. Is that something that a normal person would do? Think of the reason why Raila would do this, okay? I'll let you marinate on that. Let me go to my next point.
Kura ikapigwa kwa polling stations 46,232. Hapo tulikuwa na makaratasi 6 za form 34A. Moja ni ya kila mgombeaji wa urais. Moja ni ya kusafirisha paka hiyo mtandao wanasema. Moja ilikuwa imewekwa kwa mlango. Nilisikia kwa koti Smoking Wanjala akiwauliza watoe form moja tu 34A out of 46,000 plus. Ile imebadilizwa, ile wanaona kwa mtandao ni tofauti na hiyo. Hawakutoa. Hata wakati wa leo kama wamepoteza zao, wachukue zile za Wajakoya, wachukue zile za yule mwingine, wakuje nayo watuambie hii tunaona kwa mtandao ni tofauti na hii ilitoka kwa station fulani. Siku moja nilisikia hapa Raila Odinga akisema hawezi pata zile form 34A ya Central kwa sababu they were hostile. Na huko ndio wanasema alishinda na 2.6 million votes. Watu ambao walikupigia kura paka ukapata 2.6 million votes wamekuwa hostile, huwezi pata form 34A hata mmoja ambayo imebadilishwa. Tuachane na hii shenanigans. Hii mchezo wanawekea wafuasi wao ndio wawe wakingojea ati ataenda State House. Unajua wakati watu wako vitani, mkubwa wa vita anapendwa sana. Hii unaona hata kifanyikiwa Amerika ama Israel. Wakati tunakaribia uchaguzi wanafungua vita nje. Sasa hii Raila haitaki uongozi wa Kenya. Raila ametosheka na uongozi wa Ujaluoni kwa sababu huko tuko na watu milioni 6. Hiyo ni kama kuwa rais wa Denmark. Anapata kila kitu anataka, he even lives above the law. Mtu akimchokozea anatuma watu kama wale waliendea Jalango. Hivyo ndio anafanya. Uliona wakati mmoja alikuwa anataka kufukuza kazi huyu CEO wa ODM, alikuwa anaitwa Magerel Langat.
Magerel
akumwandikia barua alimtumia goons wakafanya hiyo kazi. So this is a man who lives above the law because of these people. Akiona watu wanamtorokea anafungua vita na serikali of the day.
Let's go back to Ruto. The reason why I say the West are setting up William Ruto for failure is this. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, along with Meghan, the lady from the US ambassador to Kenya, they supported this finance bill. The finance bill that majority of Kenyans rejected, do not want, okay? It was unlawfully passed through the parliament, the National Assembly, and Okiya Mtata, thank God for Okiya Mtata, is fighting it off the judiciary. Now, if you read Patrick Alushula's piece on businessdailyafrica.com, the title of the piece article is called President Ruto plots new car tax, VAT if court cripples finance bill. Go read that article. It's basically IMF telling Ruto to stick to the finance bill. And it's telling Ruto in case the judiciary shuts down its finance act, okay, he should go ahead and introduce a new taxation on cars and other stuff, okay, which will be illegal anyway. But again, IMF is encouraging Ruto to be steadfast, hold on, not to be intimidated by what's going on as far as the protest and stick to his guns as far as the finance bill. Instead of telling him to repeal this because it's unpopular, no, the IMF is telling him he should keep to his guns, stick to his guns. What does that tell you? This indicates the amount, the influence that the IMF has in Kenya's policies, economic policy, okay? And I mentioned this. I said most of what this Kenyan president is doing is because he is influenced by the West, the IMF to be exact. If you have loans with the West, they will tell you, they will dictate how much taxes you should raise and how much production, food production, how much food you should produce. These are the stipulations that you will have to abide by when you take money from IMF. And William Ruto has already taken almost $1 billion shillings worth of loans, fresh loans from IMF, which I don't know why he took it, because the National Assembly did not approve of that. But that's the story for another day. The point I'm making is this: IMF is encouraging Ruto to stick to his guns as far as the Finance Act or the financing or the taxing of the people in case this finance bill fails. Now, here's why I say that the West are actually setting him up for failure. While they're doing that, this will obviously result to people revolting against him, because this is already unpopular, okay? So while they're doing that, the West is also meeting with Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, okay, encouraging them to go to the streets and create this crisis, okay? They know very well that Ruto will come down and hunt down these Azimio folks, whether it's by shooting them, jailing them, or whatever the case is. And there shall be a call for a national unity call, okay? There'll be growing disdain towards the government. And people will start rallying around. You see this, okay, with the hashtag, Luo Lives Matter. I don't know what matters. You know, it's a constant thing. People are dying, but they're still encouraging the Kalonzo Musyokas and Raila Odinga to go to the streets to protest against knowing very well this is going to cause a bloody conflict, okay? And the more this conflict goes on, especially the bloodier it becomes, the more people shall be desperate for any kind of an arrangement that shall bring peace, okay? So that's how this crisis, this is created by the West, so it can bring some people measures, emergency measures, that shall only benefit the West and its puppets, the useful idiots, like the Kalonzo Musyokas, okay, and Raila Odinga. I use that word deliberately. Go Google it so you can understand the providence of the term useful idiots. Now, the question you might ask yourself, where did Ruto go wrong, okay? Ruto messed up the minute he went and made that deal with Saudi Arabia to buy oil in Kenyan shillings. US dollar is the world currency, okay? If you try to buy or sell oil in another currency, you'll immediately become their enemy, the enemy of the US. Take a good example. Saddam Hussein decided that he will sell his oil in euros. What happened to him? Gaddafi wanted to introduce the black dollar, the Nero, okay, that will be backed by gold. What happened to him? Museveni, okay, there was trillions worth of gold, tons of gold that were discovered in Uganda. Museveni refused to bow down to the LGBT agenda that Mrs. Kamala Harris tried to introduce in Uganda. Now look at Museveni. He's facing a case in ICC along his son for torture of hundreds of people. That's the hypocrisy. We've known Museveni has been a dictator. We've known Museveni has been brutalizing people for years, okay? But the ICC never brought a case against him until he went against the West. Once he made some pronouncements against the US in regards to the LGBTQ, now they are going to take him to ICC for brutalizing people. Now he's no longer an ally. They are ready to get rid of him. Anyway, that's an example of what happens when you go against the West. Think about it. For the past 3 months, Ruto met the ambassador, the highest envoy from Russia, okay? This month alone, he met the president of Iran. This month alone, today or yesterday, he met the highest envoy, the high-ranking envoy from China. These are BRIC nations. Remember, Ruto also made those pronouncements about the dollar going to be urging people to drop the dollar because the dollar will be falling soon because BRICS are introducing new currency next month in August, currency that will be backed by gold. Now, Saudi Arabia is going to join BRICS. Algeria just applied today and asked if they can join BRICS. What I'm trying to say is this. There's a bigger war that's going on, not just Ukraine war, okay? I'm talking about economical warfare between the West and the non-alliance nations, but that's represented by BRICS. The BRICS nation are getting new nations to start a new currency that will not be using the dollar, while the West are trying to hang on to power by using the dollar and using Africa as the place where they get raw material. The West has been ruling Africa for a long time now, okay? The British did not go away. Don't think about the British just used, especially in Kenya, the British just used, Jomo Kenyatta, Moi, Uhuru Kenyatta, all the presidents. But now, Mr. Ruto is getting out of line and they have to get rid of him. They have to get rid of him by using the opposition. But anyway, I want to keep this video short because there's so much I wrote down and I'm just freestyling in my analysis. I'm all over. But anyway, if you haven't subscribed, I just keep it short. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, like, share, and tell me what you think. This fight, these mandamanos do not make sense, okay? They're deadly, they're bloody, but they're still, these opposition are still urging their supporters to come out and protest, knowing very well that most of them will lose their lives, will be jailed, but the aim is to win the support of the majority, to win the sympathy of the majority. You saw what happened in Ukraine. You saw what the Arab Spring was, that was the Arab Spring that was being funded by the CIA. We know what happened in Iran in 1953 when Mossadegh was removed through a revolution and Shah was installed by the CIA. We know this. We know the script, okay? So anyway, I'll keep it right there. Please subscribe, share, like, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.